Okay, so let's complete our study on lines. So first example, find the slope of the line connecting the 2 points. So I change in y over change in x. So -1 minus -1 divided by -5 minus 3. So I get -1 plus 1 all over -8. So 0 divided by any non-zero number would be 0. Okay, so when you get a slope of 0, that's a very important slope. So let me point out, hopefully you're seeing that the y values are the same. So what does that mean? Let's think about if I were to graph this. If I were to graph 3, -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, -5, -1, and connect them, what type of line, if I could draw a straight line, would connect them? A horizontal line. What's the equation of this line? Well, the equation of this line is y is equal to -1. So no matter what, there's an infinite amount of points on this line, but no matter what point I pick, the y coordinate is always -1. And I'll sum this up on another slide, okay? Horizontal lines always, always, always have a slope that's 0. Okay, next, 2 new points, find the slope of the line connecting these points. So let's remind ourselves of our notation, change in y over change in x. 3 minus 3, nope, 3 minus 0 divided by -7 minus -7. So I get 3 divided by -7 plus 7. So this gives me 3 over 0. Every single number on the real number line can be in the denominator except 0. So what does this mean? It means that my slope is undefined. There's no numerical value for my slope. It's the only time that you would get an undefined slope is if my denominator was equal to 0. Okay, so let's graph this. 4, 5, 6, -7, 0, -7, 3. 2 points determine a line. If I were to connect those points with the graph of a line, it would be a vertical line. No matter what point I look at on these lines, my x-coordinate will always be -7. So what would an equation for that line be? X equals -7. Okay, so for vertical lines, our slope is always undefined. That never ever changes. Okay, so lots of times when I ask students, what does the graph of a line look like? They say it's straight. Well, all lines are straight, okay? We have 4 different types of graphs. Non-vertical lines. When my slope is positive, I know that this is an increasing line. When my slope is negative, I know that this line decreases. And I should actually erase this. What are the equations for these lines? We've studied 3 of them. Y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, point-slope form. Or ax plus by equals c, standard form. All right, horizontal lines. Horizontal lines are always in the form y equals whatever the y coordinate of the ordered pair is. Okay, what are our slopes? The slope of a horizontal line is always equal to 0. Okay, change in y over change in x. There's no change in y, so my slope is 0. Vertical lines, the equation of a vertical line is always x equals whatever the x coordinate of the ordered pair is. All vertical lines have an undefined slope. So no matter what, if there's no change in my x value, then my slope is undefined. Okay. Next, let's talk about parallel and perpendicular. Okay. Parallel lines are two lines that'll never intersect. Okay. Parallel lines always have equal slopes. So what does that mean? If I have line 1 that has a slope of 1/3 and line 2 is parallel to line 1, its slope will also be 1/3. If line 1 has a slope of 5 and I'm saying line 2 is parallel to that line 2 will also have a slope of 5. And then similarly, if line 1 has a slope of -2/7 and line 1 and line 2 are parallel to each other, then line 2 will also have a slope of -2/7. Okay, so if you have seen this, like you'll learn that in geometry, that's our symbol for parallel. So if, slopes are not parallel, lines are parallel. So if I say one line is parallel to another line, okay, then the slope of the first line is equal to the slope of the second line. So I like to think that the parallel sign, if we rotated that, it would look like an equal sign. Perpendicular lines, the relationship between slopes of perpendicular lines, the slopes are opposite and reciprocal. Okay, so what does that mean? If line 1 has a slope of +1/3, and I'm saying line 1 and line 2 are perpendicular, the slope is opposite, so a positive slope becomes a negative slope, and reciprocal just means that I have to flip the fraction of the numerator and denominator. So if one line has a slope of 1/3, a line perpendicular to that would have a slope of -3. Okay, and I would expect you to see that -3 divided by 1 is -3. Line 1 has a slope of +5. Okay, so first things first, line 2 would have a negative slope because the slopes have to be opposite signs of each other. And then let me remind you, any whole number can be made into a fraction just by simply putting it over 1. We looked at this with slope, right? So it could give us direction of how we're changing left and right. So if I flip 5 over 1, then the slope of a line perpendicular to line 1 would be -1/5. And then lastly, if line 1 has a slope of -2/7 and line 2 is perpendicular to that line, the slope of line 2 needs to be positive. And then what's the reciprocal of 2/7? 7/2. Okay, so if a line is perpendicular to another line, that's our symbol for perpendicular, then the slopes are opposite and reciprocals of each other. Another way that you could see this, you could actually see it if you were to multiply the two slopes together, the product of the two slopes would be -1. Okay, so either one of those are acceptable for showing that two lines are perpendicular. Okay, write the equation of a line through the given point and parallel to this line. Okay, so my answer and what I'm given. I'm given this line. For my answer, I want the lines to be parallel. Okay, so if my lines are parallel, my slopes have to be equal to each other. So from my given information, I have to be able to determine my slope. Okay, well, this is set up pretty nicely. It's in slope-intercept form. My slope is my coefficient to my x. So my slope is 1/3. So for the line that I want to write, I keep the slope the same because I'm told the lines are parallel. And furthermore, I know it goes through the point 3, 2. So let me remind you real quickly, our 3 ways we can write an equation of a line. I have a point and I have a slope. So I'm going to use my point-slope form of a line. And now I'm just going to plug in the information I have. Y minus the y coordinate of the point given equals, we determined our slope to be 1/3. x minus the x coordinate of the point that's given, and I'm done. Okay, so once I have an equation of a line, if it doesn't say to use one form over the other, I'm done. I'm good. Okay, write the equation of a line with a y-intercept of 2/3 and perpendicular to the given line. So for the line I want to write, my y-intercept is 2/3. Let's remember that the letter we use to represent our y-intercept is B. I know that my two lines are perpendicular to each other. If my lines are perpendicular, then their slopes have to be opposite reciprocals of each other. Okay, so what line am I given? I'm given this line, which is in standard form. So from standard form, I can't just directly pick out my slope. So remember, we had to solve that equation for y. So if I take this, I'm going to add 2x to both sides. So I get 2x minus 4. I'm going to divide both sides by -3, and I like to write every single term divided by -3. Positive 2 divided by -3, that stays as -2/3. -4 divided by -3 is positive 4/3. So now from here, now that it's in slope-intercept form, I can easily determine that the slope is -2/3. Okay, so if my given slope is -2/3, the slope of the line for my answer has to be the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite of a negative number is a positive number, and I know that the reciprocal of 2/3, I flip the fraction to make it 3/2. So let me go back. My three equations of a line, now I'm given my slope, and I'm given the y-intercept. Okay, that was the information that was given to start. So y equals mx plus b. That's the information that I have. It fits nicely into that form, so that's all we have to do. Okay, so you are going to complete now. Copy this chart into your notebooks. There's 7 different equations. For each equation, I want you to identify the slope. Then I want you to tell me what the slope of a line parallel to the given equation is, and give me the slope of a line perpendicular to the given equation. Okay, thank you.